Welcome to episode number 260 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. You can find us online by searching for us at Beyond Social Media Show. You'll find our website and all our other properties there. We're recording live on YouTube on February 22, 2019. The topics this week include Tween Journalist, Tweet Annotations, Little Ditty by Jack and Diane, video trends, Anty McAntface, free coloring books, Boo on Burberry, Nike blows, YouTube ad exodus, Google, are you listening? And much, much more. Bill kicks it off with the best story of the week. Bill, what do you got?
Well, I am in love with a little girl whose name is Hildy Kate Lysiak, and she is a 12-year-old journalist, and her exploits, she's been doing journalism since she was 9, and her exploits have earned her an upcoming Scholastic book series and a TV show that's coming up, and she was chasing down a story in Arizona, Patagonia, Arizona, when the town marshal, whose name is Joseph Patterson, allegedly threatened to throw her in juvenile jail on Monday, then falsely claimed that it was illegal for her to film him and publish the video on the internet. Well, that doesn't stop this kid. So she filmed him, she put it on the internet. That video has had 22,000 views since then. Well, the last time that, and she also put it on her own, she has an online news channel called Orange Street News, the very professional looking site, and that prompted the town officials to discipline the marshal. And so she has broken news. This kid's amazing. She's broken news about bank robberies, murders, alleged rapes, and other lurid crimes in her Orange Street News, the paper she publishes out of her parents' home in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. So the other day she had a note that said, "Note to dealers, OSN," that's her news channel, "will not be intimidated," after she reportedly received threats because she published a text message exchange between a drug dealer and a woman who he had apparently solicited for sex. And in a video that she had while she was going after that story, you hear somebody going, "Yeah, run, they have guns, run," and you hear them running away. So last week she interviewed residents to see how they felt about President Trump's proposed border wall. Then she briefly hopped over the barbed wire fence that separated the U.S. from Mexico, and she said, even a 12-year-old can get through it. But she put on her Twitter feed that she did not want to take sides, whether she was pro or anti the fence. She just wanted to point out that it wasn't effective. So by early Friday morning, hundreds of people had left comments on Twitter calling her a hero and expressing outrage about Patterson's false claim that it was against the law for her to film him. And while I was on her YouTube channel, I see, all these videos of this adorable kid, and she's 9 and 10 years old telling these stories. She broke a murder story. So in an email to the Washington Post, Dan Barr, who is an attorney for the First Amendment Coalition of Arizona, called the town's reference to the statute saying it was illegal to put his face on YouTube pure nonsense. And he said, "Hildy is a force of nature. One can only imagine what sort of story she'll be turning out once she has a driver's license." So on her page, on the About page, it says, OSN publisher Hildy Kate Lysiak's exclusive reports on crime and community happenings are without competition. OSN multimedia editor Isabel Rose Lysiak, that's her mom, shoots and edits all the videos. Hildy is also the author of a new book series, Hildy Cracks the Cracks, and her first book, Hero Dog, which will be available nationwide shortly. I love this kid.
It's awesome. She's got a very bright future, and she's starting early.
Really?
A young girl in a hurry. That's fantastic. So this is not as fantastic, but we have talked about this before, and there's a story on Recode by Kurt Wagner about kind of editing tweets, not necessarily editing tweets, but that function is something that a lot of people want. There's some controversy over it. Some people see it as a good thing, other people don't. So Twitter has been bouncing this idea around for a while, and they haven't rolled it out. But here's another indication of what it might look like. So Jack Dorsey spoke at a February 14 event for Goldman Sachs, saying that Twitter was thinking about some kind of feature that would let people go back and add clarifications or annotations to old tweets. So the idea is that even if a tweet had already gone viral, you could basically annotate it, so you could attach a clarification to the original tweet. So wherever it appeared, even if it was embedded in another tweet, it would be updated with that context or that annotation or that clarification. Dorsey was quoted saying, "How do we enable people to quickly go back to any tweet, whether it be years back or today, and show that original tweet, kind of like a quote retweet with a comment, and to add some context and some color on what they might have tweeted or what they might have meant. By doing so, you imagine that the original tweet would then not have that sort of engagement around it. Like you wouldn't be able to retweet the original tweet, for instance. You would just show the clarifications. You would be able to retweet the clarification. So it always carries around with it that context. That's one approach, not saying that we are going to launch that, but those are the sorts of questions we're going to ask. I find it an interesting concept. I think it has a lot of value to it. But I also like the idea that we've discussed previously of just taking Wikipedia and applying that methodology to editing tweets, so you know the history of the edits.
I agree with that, but I think what Twitter really needs is spell check. You know, most of the problems that I have is I misspell something. And, you know, every other platform has spell checks, lets you know, like, you might be misspelling something. If Twitter had that, there would be so much less need for me, in any case, to change tweets. But it's a slippery slope. And, you know, when he talks, he's kind of mealy-mouthed. He doesn't really ever commit to anything, so that's a big maybe.
For a long time, so
yeah, and that was a big maybe. I mean, what you just said that he said was like, what? You know, it wasn't 100% clear because he doesn't. Yeah. I think he doesn't like to be clear. I think that's part of him.
Yeah,
you know, but it needs something. It definitely needs something.
I do think there's some value to the fact that, I mean, people use Twitter offhandedly, and so sometimes they're careless with what they say. They don't think of it, and in the moment, and if they thought of it, they probably would not have said it the way they said it. So having the ability to say, hey, that's not exactly what I meant, and add clarification to that tweet, I think would save a lot of heartache that people go through. I mean, I think of the woman who was the PR rep.
Oh, that was awful.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but that's the most egregious example of that.
But
or
you know,
comedians who are getting hammered for. I mean, comedians should have a lot more leeway than normal people, because their job is to point out things in society. And you know, anyway, I think it's an interesting idea. Again, we'll see if it ever happens.
But at least on Facebook, you can go and update, you know, your posts, and you can put the update at the top, and that's probably the only thing at the moment that I like about Facebook. So, could you please sing about Jack and Diane for a sec here?
I already did.
Okay. Well, this is about Jack and Diane's wedding, and it's on here as a best because it's some very clever marketing by Kennebec Valley Humane Society in Augusta, Maine. And this came my way through Joan Stewart, who pointed me to the article in Huffington Post by Elise Wanshell. So 2 senior dogs, who the shelter named Jack and Diane, were found in a cemetery with their leashes tied together, and the shelter quickly realized that they were a bonded pair who would need to stay together and be adopted together. There's history showing that when dogs are a bonded pair and they're separated, one of them might actually die. So the pair had been at the shelter for a long time because nobody really wanted to take these elderly dogs together. And so the director of the shelter, whose name is Stephanie Roy, She said that the dogs are found snuggling together for hours, and he gives toys and he gives up soft beds to her, and she seems to be the boss who decides like where they're going to go and when they're going to do it. But so to make the point that they were a bonded pair, they decided to hold a dog wedding with John Mellencamp's Jack and Diane playing, and they had a pizza party in which Jack and Diane, two American kids growing up in the heartland, devoured bits of pepperoni pizza slices that the staff, you know, snuck to them. And they're now looking for potential adopters who live in near Augusta, Maine. But the other clever thing that they do in their marketing is the video on their homepage has a whole bunch of shots of what's happening in the shelter. And there's a lot of cleaning and washing and sweeping and spraying to show what a clean, safe place it is, because that's an issue in a lot of shelters. So it's just another bit of really smart marketing.
Well, telling the little story. I mean, that's and tying it into John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea either.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So this is a video I stumbled across from, I think, the Content Marketing Association. I found it there. It's by a guy named Mats Mikkel Olsen. For an agency called Spoon, a video marketing agency called Spoon, and it's a basically 2019 video trends video, in which he cites some interesting videos that are popular that he's stumbled across. That by way of pointing out that it's really difficult to point out trends, because who would have thought of these? One of them is Breadface. Breadface is a woman on Instagram who just records videos of her smashing her face into different types of bread.
And do people watch them?
It's super popular. She's got a ton of followers. So that's one. The other one is there's a YouTube channel for marble racing. So there's a bunch of videos about marble races. There's an elaborate kind of OK Go contraption where the marbles are going around a racing course, and it's like the Olympics of marble racing. And there's a voiceover highlighting play-by-play of
who is going.
Yeah, and then he gets into some of the well, first of all, he does cite the importance of the first 6 seconds of your video. And this I found interesting. He said the first 6 seconds of your video, you need to establish your premise for the video. You need to flash your logo or your visual identity. Flash it. Don't overwhelm. And then you need to share your core message. So within the first 6 seconds, you need to do those 3 things in order to draw viewers into the rest of the video and get them to watch more of it. So good advice there. Then he gets into some of the trends that he predicts for 2019, and I'm kind of iffy about these. He says vertical videos will stick. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, that makes sense. They've
There's
been around.
software that can make them square so that you don't have to see those edges.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just the way that people use their phones to record. They're not going to change that behavior. So, of course, it's going to stick. He says immersive is going to be a trend. So 360 VR. He said it hasn't really taken off yet, but he cites Oculus Go, the cheaper version of Oculus Rift that will prompt more consumption of immersive videos. I can see that. Interactive, shoppable videos. So Instagram has the ability to do shoppable images. He says it's logical that they do the same thing with video. And then what he calls momentary video. This is ephemeral video, aka Snapchat. So yeah, I mean, people are already doing it. So some of his predictions are not really that bold. Some pretty obvious. He cites Facebook stories as why momentary videos are something to do, even though they're not searchable, not trackable, and have very little ROI. But if people love them, brands should be doing them. And I'd say no. That's the reason I don't recommend them, is because you're creating video, and it's supposed to, and if it will get a lot of attention, it's got to be really well produced. So you're putting a lot of resources into it, and then you use it once and it's done, and you can't really track it. Yeah, so
But, at the beginning of Hangouts, so we're talking about 5 years ago, there was a Tiffany video, a Tiffany Hangout in which you could shop. There was a Diane von Furstenberg. I mean, you could, try out a Toyota in those. So, YouTube and Google just kinda blew it because they had these advances and then they just let them go. But, we have talked in the past about Bodie McBoatface and a few other things that were Mick whatever face, and, so the, Yorkshire Wildlife Park, this week said, on Twitter, "Against all better judgment from upper management, we have been granted permission to run a naming competition for our new baby anteater. Please, internet, be kind." So they set these ground rules. The name has to start with the letter L. We know this is less fun, but it's a zoo rule and we have to follow it. It's a female anteater, so try to bear that in mind with your suggestions. Please don't say Anty McAntface, which of course everyone did. Monday afternoon, they said we had over 1,000 name suggestions for our baby anteater across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are delighted and terrified to announce that we'll be holding a public vote right here on Twitter to select the new name. Who's ready for the most important vote of the lifetime? The poll goes on until Sunday. I vote for Nicki Minaj. It's presently 50-50 with Nicki Minaj and Luna. And other choices are Lilith, Lyra, Lingua, Lakita, and Lucky. And they have whole stories about why they picked those particular names. But it looks like Nicki Minaj is probably going to win, but I assure you there will be some write-ins for Anty McAntface.
So I would write in Edie McEatface.
Go right ahead. They're on Twitter.
All right, so this is from a Lifehacker article by Nick Douglas, who cites there are hundreds of museums and libraries around the world that are making color books based on their collections. It's a fantastic idea. It's actually got a Color Our Collections is the program. It's what the program is called. It's led by the New York Academy of Medicine. And so they've actually been doing this for 3 years. So along with the three previous annual collections, there are now 396 PDF coloring books you can download and print out. They are all using public domain images that are in the purview of the libraries and the institutions that are doing this. One example, I'll just cite one example. This is from Northern Illinois University coloring book. Has Beadle, Beadle, Beadle's new dime novel. So they have images from dime novels, and the cover of one of them is called "The Huge Hunter" or "The Steam Man of the Prairies" by Edward S. Ellis, and it depicts a steam-driven mechanical man that is pulling a carriage full of passengers. So it's like right out of the Wild West, except rather than the carriage full of passengers with horses towing them along, it's this steampunk-ish mechanical man pulling it, and you can color it in. It just looks freaking awesome. So we'll put a link to the collection. You can download your own coloring books and have at it.
So these are made with art that's in the various museums? Oh, I love this, and they're free. That's so fabulous. I love that. I don't have any more good news. I'm on to bad news.
Let's do it.
Well, boo for you, Burberry. This week, this is, I first saw this in a HuffPost story by Carly Ledbetter. And, Burberry is the latest brand with a stupid, racist, ugly piece of clothing to apologize for. This week, in their London fashion shows, Burberry walked a model down the aisle wearing a hooded sweatshirt with the ties of the sweatshirt made into a noose that was hanging around her neck. So, of course, the apology is they're deeply sorry, as was Gucci for their blackface sweater last week. And what was it with the shoes? I forget. This horrifying item was made, it was criticized by the model who wore it. And she wrote a now viral Instagram post and alongside 3 pictures of the noose. And she said in her post, "Suicide is not fashion." pointing out that impressionable youth, rising suicide rates, and the horrifying history of lynching should be enough to stop a brand from presenting something that resembles a noose. So the chief creative director of Burberry, whose name is Ricardo Tisci, he said the design was inspired by a marine theme that ran throughout the collection. It was insensitive and it was a mistake. You think? What? I mean, who approves this shit? Who looks
No,
at that
the
and says, "Oh,
question.
what a good idea"?
No, the question isn't who approves it; it's who's not protesting it. That's the problem. Is that
Within the companies?
within the
Well,
company, there's not anybody saying, "Wait a minute, this is not a good idea."
and what do you think happens when they do? I've been there. I've done that.
Well,
I mean, you don't always get to
well,
have
that's
it.
people are intimidated. They need to be able
Yeah,
to, yeah,
that's a tough one. Okay,
yeah.
onward.
So Nike blew it this week, both literally and figuratively. This is from a Quartz article by Mark Bain, but everybody's been covering it. So they had a bad, really, really horrible week. Seconds into a matchup between the University of North Carolina and Duke University, the nation's top-ranked college basketball team, on a nationally broadcast game in which the NBA was not playing. So there were no NBA games. So all basketball fans were focused on this game. Duke's freshman superstar, Zion Williamson, he had the ball and he was moving across the floor. And as he tried to plant his left foot, his Nike PG 2.5 sneaker that he was wearing blew out. It just, the sole completely ripped off from the rest of the shoe, and he fell to the ground injured. So Williamson is presumed to be the first pick in the upcoming NBA draft. So he is that talented. He's presumed to be the first athlete to be picked. President Barack Obama was in attendance to watch the game. Duke's coach later told the media that it was a mild grade 1 knee sprain. So luckily it was not an ACL. It was nothing, that he can't recover from. Clips and pictures show the Nike sneaker with its sole ripping away from the shoe. There's a Puma commented on Twitter, wouldn't have happened in the Pumas, which they later deleted and should have thought better of and not even tweeted that. Not always a good, let your competition do their own damage. You don't have to add to it. It's bad form. So Nike issued a statement wishing him, Zion, a speedy recovery. The quality and performance of our products are of utmost importance. While this is an isolated occurrence, we are working to identify what the issue. The issue is the sole ripped apart from the shoe.
But Dave, in the videos, did he fall down because the shoe ripped, or did he fall and then it ripped?
No, he fell down because it ripped.
Really?
Because when you plant your foot like that and you're on the court, it's just like, I know from playing football, when you plant your foot and trying to change direction, you are putting all of your force into that move. Okay. And his knee his foot buckled because the shoe ripped apart. So the company says the company has had other sneakers blown in the past, but it's a rare occurrence. It wasn't, though, the first PR disaster Nike had that day. Users had started, Nike customers had started reporting technical issues with an app that controls their $350 Adapt BB Smart basketball sneakers, which were only recently released to the public. Nike has promoted these sneakers as game-changing technology, the app as an interface of a new kind of relationship with their performance product, which enables all kind of capabilities of the sneaker over time. Users complained that the app was syncing one foot, but not the other. So kind of doesn't work when that happens. In another story, SB Nation story by Ricky O'Donnell, he perfectly framed this, why it's such a PR disaster. He says, maybe it's because the cheap seats for the Duke versus North Carolina were going for $2,500. Maybe it's because former President Barack Obama was sitting courtside because it happened just 33 seconds into the game between college basketball's premier rivals on a night the NBA took off. You couldn't turn on the TV the next day without everyone giving an opinion about whether Williamson was best off shutting it down for the rest of the year and ahead of the NBA draft. So, yeah, all of those factors contribute to a story that's irresistible for people to cover. So tons of press on it. Nike stock, according to the Independent's Colin Drury, dropped by 1.1 billion, knocked off their stock market value. The company's value tumbled 1.7% on Thursday as a result of this bad press. It did recover, or much of the losses were erased by Friday lunchtime because the U.S. stock market rose in relation to some more positive economic news. But there's a number you can attach to reputational damage right there. And finally, the malfunction could hurt the firm's ability to sign Williamson when he goes pro. I mean, is he going to sign with Nike after they nearly took out his career, worth millions? I don't think so.
Didn't they have a motto that was "It's in the shoe" or "It's all about the shoe"? Wasn't that Nike's motto at one point?
Nike's motto has always been "just do it."
No, I think they had something
Really?
about, yeah, I'll look that up. I'm sure I read that this week. So brands are running away as fast as they can from YouTube, which has been invaded by pedophiles. This has been written about by everybody too, but this is from a USA Today story by Mike Snyder and another one by Garrett Sloan. And AT&T, Disney, Kellogg, Hasbro, and Epic Games, the publisher of the massively successful video game Fortnite, have all pulled their ads from YouTube because there's mounting concern that the video platform has been co-opted by pedophiles, and they've been building these surreptitious networks in which they communicate with each other while objectifying comments about children in videos. So the pedophiles are viewing videos of children and then leaving disturbing comments and then sharing links to even worse content in porn in the comments section. And Google algorithms tend to push ads for household brands to run in videos involving children. And many of those ads have ended up on videos with these horrifying comments. So the brand's exit, it's very interesting. Everybody's written about this and said it's an online blogger, but I have only seen him named on his channel, and his name is Matt Watson. And he's the one who brought this story out, and he highlighted that softcore pedophiles were able to communicate with each other below the radar in the comments section under innocent videos of kids. And the kids were like doing yoga, or they're playing a game like Twister, or they're doing gymnastics, and they timestamp the video, which means that the video, the time of the picture that they want is in brackets in the comments, and when you click on that time, it takes you to that spot in the video. So it'll have a kid in a compromising position that a normal person would not have noticed. And anyway, Matt Watson's video has had 2.5 million views, and he's released several on the topic. So it doesn't matter. He says that YouTube flags the videos and turns off the comments. The videos are being monetized, and more importantly, they're still available. So YouTube, in total damage control mode, was putting executives on emergency calls with marketers and agencies and sending a memo to let advertisers know that it's working on a fix. And YouTube's algorithm was also suggesting videos that featured children even when you weren't looking for them, or when they were viewed, or when you were looking at a tangentially related video, and the search bar auto-filled in search suggestions that appeared to be the favorite terms of pedophiles. YouTube said it removed the search terms and is taking offending videos out. They said they disabled comments on, quote, tens of millions of videos with minors in them, removed thousands of inappropriate comments on videos featuring minors, and terminated more than 400 channels for inappropriate comments. And then they said they reported the illegal comments to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and that they disabled autocomplete algorithms that made it easy to discover the content. However, Haley Halverson, who's Vice President of Advocacy and Outreach at the National Center on sexual exploitation, said, regardless of YouTube's action to improve the situation, offensive and potentially abusive videos can easily be found. Within 2 clicks, he said, I was able to enter into a rabbit hole of videos where children are being eroticized by pedophiles and child abusers. Excuse me, it's a she, not a he. And the content became more flagrantly sexualized the more I clicked, she said. And as the YouTube recommendation algorithm fed more and more videos with hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions of views. She said she also saw ads play on those videos from LinkedIn, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Google, CS First Coding Education and Curriculum site, and also saw a YouTube ads survey. While comments on some of the videos are blocked, the videos remain online, she said. And some of these videos also contain flags where potential sex traffickers and child abusers are trying to get in contact with the children in the videos via social media, and they're networking among themselves, and they're putting these children at risk is what's happening. YouTube is doing that. The thing is, YouTube's market size makes it nearly impossible for them to manage all the content that was uploaded. But as Matt Watson pointed out, they knew about this. This has happened with them where they know about things and they don't actually do anything about it until somebody calls them out like this. So a video advertising bureau study called Risky Business Exploring Brand Safety on YouTube said the sheer number of videos results in a platform that has a very long tail consisting of thousands of channels of largely user-generated content, which is also its beauty, and varying degrees of brand safety. The threat of inappropriate content also extends to YouTube's premium content, given the lack of transparency and the relative autonomy of top influencers. And we've seen, week after week where some top influencer is called out for some horrible thing they've done. So this is not YouTube's first rodeo here. The first debacle was in 2017 when they were running ads with extremists and racist ads alongside extremists and racist content. And since that adpocalypse, they say they develop ways to monitor where the ads run, but only after that's already happened, only after the fact. So the bottom line is what Garrett Sloan writes in Ad Age: the brand safety issues have not harmed the company's profits. Google posted $33 billion in ad sales in the fourth quarter, and Facebook generated $17 billion. The two digital powerhouses together have a 60% share of digital ad revenue for 2019, according to an eMarketer survey. Frightening.
Yes, I'm confused. Are these pedophiles or whatever, are they uploading video?
No, what they're doing is they're commenting on them, and they, in the comments, are time stamping the video.
Yeah, so there's a lot of responsibility to put on people to monitor their own comments and their own videos too. I mean,
yes, there is, and you can have. I mean, we only allow approved comments. We don't allow comments to go up unless we see them on any of our channels. But yes, but I think that there are some people, parents, putting up videos of their kid in a gym class that don't know that.
Yeah, well, maybe they do, but yeah, it is. I guess it's easy for me to say. Good point, but
because that's what you do. You know this stuff, but a parent who's bragging about their kid in dance class and they're doing a split and some creep is, focusing on that. That's disgusting. Yep. What parent knows that? They just don't, unless they work where we do.
Yeah.
So
that's the other thing, though, is I wonder, I'm skeptical that Google knew about it and decided not to do anything.
I think until these things have been pointed out to them, I'm not sure that they really do anything about it.
Show me the proof. I doubt that they just completely ignored
how did this
knowing
happen?
that this was happening.
How did it happen? It happened pretty fast.
I don't know, but I didn't see in anything you read. I didn't see any proof that YouTube knew of or Google knew about it. That's my point. Anyway.
No, it was pointed. No, that you missed that part. It was pointed out to them. This guy, Matt Watson, brought this up before anybody wrote about it. And he claims that these things had been there for a while. If the algorithms work, they should have known about it.
Well, there's the problem too. This is new technology, and they come across something that, I mean, who knew about this until we knew about it, right? So
You could
until
say
you
that about anything.
well, right, but I mean, you don't think about something, it's beyond the pale of your imagination until it becomes apparent that this is happening, and then you need to figure out and re-engineer your algorithm to deal with it because it didn't deal with it because you didn't think about it, right?
What
So,
happened
I mean,
when
it's
there were jihadist videos
the
on?
same thing. That's the same exact thing. It didn't think that jihadists would be using it until they started using it, and then you got to redo your algorithm to figure it out.
Well, maybe you have to be a little smarter than that
I'm
because
sure it
it's a
doesn't take
crazy
it.
world we
Well,
live in.
now you got to start thinking about that. But I mean, you know,
I mean, and I agree with you. I mean, if you're not crazy, it's hard to think about what crazy people would do. But there are people who are experts at what crazy people would do. You know, you can employ some of them. It's a terrible situation, and it doesn't matter what we think about it. Really, it just matters like all these brands are leaving, and you know, it's not going to cost them really in the end affect anything.
well, here's another reason to be angry at Google. This is a Business Insider article by Nick Bastone, who writes about Nest Guard. So this is a home automation security system that Google um, offers that turns out there is a microphone in it, but they didn't tell anybody that there was a microphone in it. So this is the Nest Guard is an alarm keypad and motion sensor of component of Nest Secure for home security. It was never disclosed in any of the product material that the device had a microphone in it. Google said, quote, the on-device microphone was never intended to be a secret and should have been listed in the tech specs.
Duh.
The error was on our part. Well, I'm skeptical that it was never intended to be secret because you produce tech specs are a common thing of every consumer electronic product. You list all the things that are in your product. Omitting a microphone, something as obvious as a microphone, how does that get past your? How does that get overlooked? I find that hard to believe. Hashtag don't be evil.
Was it hidden somewhere?
Well, I mean, you know, microphones these days are so small that you don't notice them. So I don't know if it was hidden. I don't have the device, but it wasn't listed among the product
You
specs that
didn't
there was a
expect it.
microphone in it. Yeah.
Jeez, that's awful.
Yeah.
Well, there's yet another reason why I don't have Google Home or. Okay, well, I'm done with bad news, thank goodness. Does that bring us? Where does that bring us, Dave?
Any new stuff? And
Okay.
I got a quick one here. 500px. It's not new, but I've started to re-engage with it. It is a photo sharing site, much like Flickr, but kind of a nicer interface and easy to use. There's a free version. There's also a pro version starting from $2.99 a month up to $11.99 a month for ad-free experience and a bunch of other stuff, stats, analytics on the photos that you upload. But the nice thing about it is I shoot a lot of photography. I am shooting photography all the time, and I have it kind of automatically uploaded to my Google account. And then I kind of forget about it. But I have a lot of photos that I could put to use. You can license your photos on 500px. So that's what I've done. I started playing around with it, uploaded some. I haven't earned anything yet because the photos are still under review, which is a good sign. They're reviewing the photography. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's a cool site. 500px. There's a lot of good photography there.
Yeah, I just, I have a lot of stuff on Flickr, and I was one of the stupid people who continued to pay for it when it was free, and now I guess it's going away, or whatever is going to happen. So I do have my photos on Google as well, but they're hard to find. You know, you need a better way to categorize them.
Disagree. I think Google Photos.
Yeah.
I think they're amazing. It's amazing that how good Google Photo, their vision, their computer vision is so amazing that I can search for something by keyword and it'll bring up everything because it understands what's actually in the photo, so I don't have to tag anything anymore. I think it's
Really?
fantastic. Yeah. And by the way, Flickr was bought by can't remember who bought it, but it's still it's still working.
It still
They
exists,
still
but
have the
it's
pro
not the
version.
same.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the same.
Well, it used to be that with your pro version, you had unlimited storage and ad-free. They changed all the terms. That's what they did.
No, they didn't.
Anyway, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. They pissed me off. So, where do we go now?
Projects. I get a project. So
Okay.
I was recently cited in a Rasmussen College article by Brianna Flavin titled "Who Do You Have What It Takes to Be a Web Designer?" And
You
so
do.
there's some good stuff in here. One of the things that they cite is you can explain your ideas in your listeners' terms. So this is a quote from Sherry Holub, who's the creative director at JVM Design, and she says when just starting out, it's easy to simply go, "Here's your new design," but without explanation, your client may not know how to respond. You need to be able to explain your ideas in terms that your clients will understand. So that's a good advice. You believe in collaboration is another one. This is from Peter Heiss of Correct Digital Inc. An artist with the ability to work with others is rare but useful. We can't receive payment until the client is happy with the website. He points out the ability to receive and adjust to criticism is important. And so collaboration also means collaboration with not just your team members, but with the client as well, right? My advice is you need to be able to read people. So website designs are emotionally laden projects, regardless of it's a small business or a large corporation. People tend to invest a lot of their hopes and desires in the outcome, and so you need to have the ability to read the room and see where the power dynamics of a group of people are in to help them deal with their emotions. Basically, listen, pull out their frustrations so you understand them, or the hopes so you understand them and can deal with them so you don't run into conflict on down the line. And then finally, you should have lots of patience. This is from Alex Wright, who's the owner of Alex Wright Web Design. Humility and patience are rare in the visual design industry, especially coming out of school. Designers often view their own aesthetic preferences with a very high regard at the expense of the big picture end goals. And it's so true. It is, and especially as somebody who has worked on design and development, working with designers who want this beautifully laid out page with just subtle buttons and everything that no user will pay attention to because they don't notice it. So getting the visual designers to understand that they actually need to perform the page needs to have an objective and needs to perform, and calls to action need to be clicked on is important as well. So
And it's important to convey that to the client. For sure. Yeah. Oh, I want it to be very subtle. Yeah. Well, great. That's wonderful. If you want to have a business, it can't work like that. So I do have a pro tip.
Cool.
And it's about building a Twitter following from scratch. And I don't know if you're on Quora. I think you are. And I get asked this a lot. How do you build a Twitter following? And I've been doing this for a couple of clients recently. And so my invaluable starting place is Follower Wonk, followerwonk.com. And basically what I do when I go there is I search for the keywords that you want to rank on for your site and your business. And since you only have 160 characters in your Twitter bio, the words you put in there are probably going to be important to your identity and your interests. And so then you look in Follower Wonk at whether those people have they give you their social ranking and tell you whether they only retweet or they add original material, and they do they interact with others. That's all there in the chart that you see. And Follower Wonk is like $29 a month. It's so worth it to have. And so then you find the people who have high rankings, who have interesting content, and there's no substitute for going to look at what the people have and what they have to say. The first 100 followers are the hardest ones to get. And you find those people and you interact with them. You note the hashtags that they include in their posts, because that again tells you more about their interests. You set up a Google alert on the topic that you want to be able to share information on. You also, I build lists on Twitter of people who post, who are authorities in various aspects of whatever the field is, whether they're journalists or writers or whatever term will give you content to reply to. I'm usually interested in what journalists and writers are talking about, but for clients it tends to be different. So whatever terms will give you content to reply to retweet to, or to direct message that person if their direct messages are open. And the basic rule of thumb to build your following on Twitter is 12 to 1. 12 times you respond, you retweet, you post helpful information. 1 time you promote yourself. And please, God, whatever you do, do not put in a weekly list of everybody who has interacted with you and thank them. It is very annoying. But if you continue to do that, you'll see the first 100 are hard to get. But once you have 100, it sort of builds almost from there much more easily.
Very good advice. Very good. What should I'm trying to think of a pro tip to add. Here's a pro tip for Twitter. If you have a list of subscribers from a newsletter or just your own personal contacts or whatever, and you're building a Twitter account for yourself, upload that list of contacts to Twitter. And what that will do is trigger the who to follow feature of Twitter. So when those contacts are on Twitter, they will notice more. It's more likely that they'll see you as someone to follow because of that connection than if you don't do that.
All right, that's another good tip.
All right, so let's wrap this up with some numbers. I came across this John Ketzier, I think Kotzier of at Inc. magazine. The title of his article is Amazon. No, that's not the title of the conclusion of the article is Amazon Echo is better than Google Home, and this is according to marketers. So he cites some statistics in this. 48% of marketers think Amazon Echo has the greatest potential for voice-enabled marketing, and they would be all wrong. I couldn't disagree more. Just a third say Google Assistant is the best. I'm among them. Only 17 feel the same way about Apple Siri, useless. Cortana, just 3%. I mean, Cortana is probably just going to fall off the map pretty soon. But almost 40% of marketers are doing no voice-first marketing today. So I would say start thinking about it because it is the next big frontier of content marketing.
Absolutely, but you have to give Siri a little bit of credit. She is getting a little smarter. Not much, but a little bit. So that brings us to the end of episode 260 of the Beyond Social Media Show. You can find us on any platform by searching Beyond Social Media Show. The links to everything we talked about, the videos, the original stories, the tweets will be on beyondsocialmediashow.com/260. We'd love for you to leave us a review on iTunes. That would be wonderful. David Erickson can be found on Twitter as D. Erickson, on Instagram as DE Erickson. He blogs at eStrategyBlog.com, and you should definitely subscribe to his newsletter. He is full of wonderful information. I am BL Ochman. I'm on Twitter as What's Next. My blog is What's Next Blog. That's also my YouTube channel. The show, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. On Twitter, we're BS Media Show. And we are on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google, what is she called? Echo?
Google Home.
Google Home. Just say Play Beyond Social Media Show. We're on Google Play. You can find us, just search for Beyond Social Media Show, and there we'll be. And we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching tonight.
Thanks for watching.